Bluff City Media presents Tigers Live with Francis Carlota. Join Francis after every Memphis Tiger game as he breaks down each matchup, player of the game, and upcoming games. Now, let's get to the show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Tigers Live. I'm your host, Francis Carlotta, coming at y'all after the Tigers get a big-time dub, 80-65 over USF. I'm joined by Kenny Stubblefield. Kenny, what's going on, bro?
What's up, my guy? How are you, man?
I'm well. I'm feeling good. I got my, I started to see, I got my Derrick Rose shirt on.
Let's go.
My 08 Derrick Rose shirt on.
I like that.
We're going to talk postseason in a bit, right? Later on the show. So why not talk postseason with the wearing the shirt of the last time the Tigers made the NCAA Final Four, national championship game?
You got to do it. You got to do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's man. Right, Derrick Rose. Right. Is he in the Memphis uniform there?
Yeah. Yep. It's hard to raise.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yes, sir.
Well,
yes,
hey, before we really get going, I want to bring in the Derrick Rose of Bluff City Media, and that is the one and only, Roman Cleary.
The Derrick Rose of Bluff City Media? What in the world did I do to earn that title?
Roman Cleary, you are the man, dude. Don't let anybody tell you differently.
No question. No question. How you doing, Roman?
I'm sure Penny Hardaway feels like quite the man right now. He just got 150 wins in his college career.
Crazy. I love it.
It's massive for him, obviously. Congratulations. Pure domination for the most part for the Tigers. Yeah, the first 10 minutes or so were pretty wonky, but after that, it became pretty clear that South Florida didn't really have a chance to really compete in this one. Memphis led by as many as 22 or 23. I don't remember the exact number right now. This is what you expect. This is what Memphis is supposed to come in here and do. Tyrese Hunter goes off in his return with 15 points as well. Overall, good night for the Tigers for sure.
Yeah, Francis, let's talk about the first 5 minutes, 6 minutes of the game. Brother, that was some of the worst basketball I've seen ever. And
what was that? What was that?
I don't know, man.
I don't even know how to really describe it.
It was so bad. Here's what I think. I don't want to run this by y'all. I was thinking about this while it was happening. It is really tough when you are some of the hardest games in basketball that I've ever played in my life. And Roman, Francis, y'all might be able to attest to this, is when you play against just really inferior teams who are trying really hard, who have something to prove. And they're
any sports team that I played on, we were the inferior team.
Oh, that was you.
Any sports team that I played on, we were the inferior team. So I don't really have the experience of really.
He's got the reverse experience, Kenny. He's on the other side.
Roman's I don't know what you're talking about. I've never experienced that before. Yeah, it's just tough, man. You're trying to get into the rhythm and flow of the game. And I've always found when you play harder competition, better competition, you just play better, right? It's just you're trying to gain your footing and the other team is not helping you because they're playing sloppy too. It's just crazy. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm looking through rose-colored glasses here and trying to make the most of it, but I'm just I've experienced that before where you're just dog, I'm trying to gain my rhythm, but y'all suck and y'all aren't helping me gain my rhythm,
Dude, this is what we've been talking about this whole AAC run, right? This is it's landmine season. That's what this conference slate is. It's just landmine after landmine after landmine, and it's hard to get up for these types of games. I love what Coach Wayne Kelly said here. It was a game of horse, and both teams never got a letter.
That was the worst game of horse of all time. Everybody.
That's really good.
Everybody, that's good, Coach. That's good.
That's really
I like
good.
That one a lot.
No, if you love circuses, this that first stretch had everything you could ask for. You had wild half-court passes, shots flying over the rim. You had a USF player commit a half-court violation that was completely unprompted in any way. Memphis wasn't really pressuring or anything. That may have been the worst one possible.
Even the commenters were what did he just do? Like, what was that?
Like, that was the most random sequence of basketball that I can recall seeing in a long time.
I've played basketball ever since I can remember. I love the sport. I still play basketball every week to this day. I play with people here in San Diego. We play every Monday or every Tuesday. I play a lot of ball, and that game looked like just straight up pickup basketball. Like, just no flow, no organization, no rhythm. People were just jacking shots to jack up shots. People were not taking care of the basketball at all. People were playing lazy. It was just awful basketball. I said on Twitter, Memphis versus USF turned into a game at 24-hour fitness. That's what it was. Yeah, it was a game at 24-hour fitness where someone was on the sideline saying, "Hey, I got next. Whenever this game's over, I'm ready. I'm ready to get my 5, and I'm ready to get next." Like, that's what it felt like, pickup basketball. But hey, I see it everything in the comments too. It was sloppy, like, no question. It did not look good. It was awful from both sides. Thankfully, USF couldn't hit a shot either. I mean, every shot Memphis couldn't hit, USF couldn't hit nothing either. But Memphis still found a way to get their stuff together and pull away to come out of to enter halftime with a big time lead. So what did y'all see that allowed Memphis to kind of get it all together and extend their lead?
It really just came down to Memphis calming down and regaining a sense of control. Because once that happened, USF didn't really have a chance. Because Memphis is just a far better team in every single aspect. The only thing that was keeping South Florida alive was Memphis' sloppiness. Even though South Florida was playing sloppy themselves, it was still kind of playing into their hands a little bit. Because the only way a team like South Florida can realistically beat a team like Memphis is to keep them in the sloppy, mindset or whatever. But once Memphis broke out of that, it was just kind of over from there. We saw that really quickly once Memphis went on that 12-0 run. Once that happened, the game was never really in question again.
Yeah, for me, Francis, it was Tyrese Hunter's second run, right? Like, that was kind of the change for me. We talk about veteran leadership all the time. We talk about what Tyrese Hunter's role is. Obviously, he missed last game against Temple, and was questionable coming in to tonight. And his first run tonight wasn't great. No. He was very tentative. It really concerned me. Like, I was watching it going, he's not moving well laterally. He's not moving well. He's very tentative. He's not trying to stay in front. Like, he's a aggressive on-ball defender, and he wasn't trying to stay in front. And I was concerned. I'll be frank with you. I was concerned. Like, okay, is he more injured, more hurt, whatever? Than are they just kind of testing him out for this first run? He came out of the game. They brought Dante Harris in, who is good, right? Like, who played well tonight, and did really well, obviously, against Temple. His second run, Tyrese's second run, is what he came in, and immediately I could tell he had a lighter step. He had a little bit more of a bounce to his movement, and hit a couple of shots, got some shots up and made some shots. And that, to me, was, I think, what kind of that veteran leadership coming back in after catching his wind, calming his mind down. Like, I'm not going to hurt myself out here. Like, I'll be fine. Getting back out there, taking control of the team and pushing them forward. That to me was what really turned that first half around in terms of just kind of setting it back on the path that it needed to be on, because it was hectic before. I think Tyrese calmed it down and did a good job.
And talking about Tyrese, Roman, I think you said something on Twitter. Did Tyrese call to go to the bench at some point in the first half?
Well, I didn't really see that from my view, but I do know that he was subbed out of the game. Harris came back in, and then Hunter got back on the scores table and was pretty much a different player from that point, to Kenny's point there.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I just want to speak to the injury real quick. There is this is an injury that Tyrese has had all year. He's been dealing with this and managing this all year. Yeah. This injury is not a I'm going to hurt myself more type of injury. It's more of a management type situation. There's just a lot of, there's things that he could do right now to make his knee better, to stabilize his knee. The problem is that it would put him out for the year, and he wouldn't be able to play. He wouldn't, or not for the year. He wouldn't play for the rest of the season. But the injury that he has, the situation that he has with his knee, is one that is literally just a comfort issue. It's literally it's a situation where, and I don't want to kind of give everything away on it just because I've not seen his medical records, but I think that there is the part of it that was concerning to me was that there was some swelling before the Temple game. Like that was concerning to me. Like, what irritant happened to make it swell? And really it was just a swelling issue. They just needed to get the swelling down. And once that went away, then it was just right back to the management situation, right back to just managing the injury and making sure that he's, his knee is healthy and stable. And so I'm not surprised he's back. I never thought that this was a situation where Tiger fans needed to worry about, okay, what's his future for the rest of the year? It's more so just kind of a management situation.
Yeah, to kind of add to that, the way it was described to me a few months ago when the injury was going on is that, again, not to give everything away, but when the injury is acting up, it's a problem. But when it's not there, it's as if it doesn't exist.
Right.
So it's a very weird kind of situation that Memphis is dealing with Tyrese. Like when it's on, but when it's off, it's as if the knee's not hurt at all.
Which is why you've seen
that's the way it was described to me.
Which is why you've seen him play all year and not have the issues, right? Not have those things, because it's literally been off all year. Does that make sense? Like it's not been an issue for him,
or at least off at the right times.
Off at the right times. Perfect description. Yes. Yeah. So yeah.
Go ahead, Kenny.
No, you're good. You got it.
That's what I was going to ask y'all. How did y'all feel initially when you found out that Tyrese was going to play today? Were you a little surprised? Were you thinking that, maybe you can sit him out for a little bit, get him some rest, or were y'all totally cool with the decision?
No, again, just, understanding the nature of the injury, I wasn't really shocked.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it literally is, from what I was told, it literally was, they just got to get the swelling down. And once the swelling goes down, he'll be fine. And so the fact that he came back told me that they got the swelling down. And so, will Penny be, strategic with how he uses him moving forward, especially in these last 6 games of the regular season? Probably. Like he might not play as many minutes or get as an extended amount of run, because you need Tyrese in the postseason. Like Tyrese is massively important to what the Tigers do.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't surprised that he was coming back. That man made decisions early on this year because he knew the Tigers had something special, and he didn't want to not play. And so so him coming back to play in this game does not surprise me whatsoever.
Okay, no, fair enough. I'm glad to hear that, because I'm not as plugged into the ins and outs, the behind the scenes of the roster and everything. So that definitely eases any concerns that I had about Tyrese's knee. Because from my perspective, like, I just want him as healthy as possible for the stretch run, for the AAC tournament, for the NCAA tournament. I want him as healthy as possible. So, but hearing y'all say that about what's going on, I think that definitely puts me at ease, and it should put other people at ease if anybody was concerned about Tyrese's issues. So that's definitely good to hear. I want to talk to y'all as well about the second half, because it could have been easy for Memphis to come out of the second half, or come out of halftime, enter the second half, and be a little bit slow, be a little bit sluggish. And that typical 10-0, 8-0 run from the opposing team usually happens in that stretch of time where Memphis is in control, then USF or the other team comes back. But I thought Memphis still kept the energy up, played hard coming out of the second half. And overall, they only had 4 turnovers in the second half. So I thought they just did a much better job just playing basketball. But talk to me about the start coming out of the second half. I thought Memphis played well.
You see, this is an important example of why watching games is important, because if you look at the box score, the two teams drew even in the second half. Both scored 38 apiece in the second half. But if you actually watched the second half of this game, you understand it was not really like that at the end of the day. Memphis came out, put its boots on South Florida's neck, and didn't let up until it was really over. Now, again, I'm sure Penny is going to be frustrated with the fact that Memphis let it get down to 15 when they could have easily won this game by, say, 20 points or even 30 points. But the fact is that they came out with a lot of energy, probably even more energy than what they had during that run at the end of the first half. Went up by a whole lot, and again, just kind of put South Florida away, put it out of reach to where the Bulls didn't have a chance at all. So you have to really commend Memphis for that, considering it struggles with doing what we saw them do tonight in the past.
The turnovers for me are what it's just such a different vibe for this team. If they're not turning the ball over, they are a juggernaut of a team to guard. Like they are brutally difficult to guard if they're not turning the ball over. And so obviously they had, I mean, how many turnovers did they have in the first half? It was what, like 8, 9?
8, yeah. I had them in 8.
Was it at 8? Yeah. And then ultimately ended the game with, only 12. So they had 4. I mean, it's the Temple game all over again, right? Where they had, I think, 2 in the second half and they had like 10 or 11 in the first. I mean, it's
11. Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. Like, you've got to, it just shows me, man, like there's not many college basketball holes on this team, right? Like there's not many things that they can't do. There's not many areas in the game that they're not good at. It's those turnovers. And when they lock in and get those turnovers down, which is again why I say Tyrese is so important to this team, because he is a veteran and has done this for a very long time. And the fact that he came out and just like Roman described it, I think is pretty appropriate. Just put their boot on the neck and said, "You're not coming back." Right. And I'll just say this. We can sit here and act like they should have beat them by 35. Come on, guys. Like, come on. Like that. I saw somebody in the comments go, they should have beat them by 35.
It's just like the Charlotte game when they were up by 22 with 5 minutes left and it was over. Like it's basically that all over again.
I just go, come on. Like I guess I'm just tired of like, they are, if you're not watching the game and you're just looking at the box score, then you go, they were up by 22 and now they only won by 15. That means in the last 2-3 minutes, they got outscored by 7 points. What the hell happened? They let up. They didn't let up, man. Like there's a lot of factors to this thing, right? Like there's a lot of factors to how basketball is played. USF hit some weird shots. The refs stopped calling fouls for Memphis. They got some guys in that normally aren't going to be playing. Like it's just a different thing, right? Like it's just and I just go, man, watch the entirety of the game. And if you watch the entirety of this game, you go, USF was never in this thing, right? Ever. And
besides like the first 10 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think for me, Memphis goes from the aggression we saw to come out the second half. They go up by about 25 points. And then they're up by 25 with 8 minutes to go or something like that. And then Memphis then goes into game management mode where they're just going to drain the clock. They're going to try and run some sets. They're not going to get into the flow of their offense until there's about 10 seconds left in the shot clock. They're basically not trying to lose the game. They're not trying to win the game anymore because they already have the game won. They're just now not trying to just lose the game and just play too fast and have stupid turnovers and allow USF to get easy buckets and go on a super massive run in a short amount of time. It just turns into game management. And I think if you're in the crowd that wants them to say, screw game management, I want to beat them by 35. Well, look, at the end of the day, what matters is just winning the basketball game. I really, that's all that matters to me. That should be what all that matters to y'all. Just win the basketball game. Like that's really it. And they did that with relative ease today against USF. I think a big part of them playing so well as well was a 3-point shooting. I know Memphis, the percentage went down as the game went on, but they were hitting threes at really clutch moments. And also, I want to bring up this comment from Coach Kelly again as well. Tigers do seem to be intentionally trying to share the rock more. Pocket passes, lobs off drives, etc. I'm on board with that. Coach, you say it all the time, share the rock. And Memphis has been doing such a good job sharing the basketball and generating good looks. The reason why my eyes were kind of bouncing around for the last like 5 minutes because I was trying to get stats and put it on my notes. Ever since Memphis started Dane Danger against UAB, here are the assist totals for these games since the also including the UAB game. 16 assists, 20 assists, 20 assists, 18 assists, 24 assists tonight. Or sorry, I went reverse. 24, 18, 20, 20, 16. I went reverse, my bad. But either way.
They had 15 tonight. 15, it was 15.
Thank you. 15, thank you. But you hear Penny say he wants to get this team to average 20 assists per game. Well, since Dane was input in starting lineup, Memphis is inching closer to that assist average. So I think Memphis, like them sharing the rock, getting others involved, generating good looks, I think that's been a big catalyst for why Memphis has been playing such good ball.
Yeah. Kenny's going to love this. Y'all want to take a crack at how many spots Memphis moved up in KenPom after this win?
Gosh.
Y'all want to take a crack at it?
1 or 2.
Francis, you got a guess?
I'm going to go with they went down 1.
No, they covered, so they're going to go up. They're going to go up. They covered.
0. They started at 43, and they're still 43 after the game.
Get out of here, man. I don't give it. Like, whatever.
I just don't care. Like, I mean, I'm serious. I know that might not be like a sexy thing to say, but I just don't care. Like, I don't care.
Again, I wouldn't really care either if I'm Memphis, because again, as far as I'm concerned, in my playbook anyway, if a team that is as decorated as Memphis, with the kind of resume that it has and everything like that, and yet they're outside of the 40s, outside of the top 40 in all these different computers, that tells me that the computer system is flawed.
It's flawed. It's flawed.
Like,
Sean
there are
Day,
certainly some fallacies associated with that.
Sean Day is a commenter and I've not seen Sean in here. Maybe I've not just missed him. Good to have you in here, Sean. He said people want Memphis to blow out teams for the net, but here's the thing: the net was made for Power 4 conferences. We're not going to break into it. I don't know if that's true or not because I just don't care enough to find out like who the net was made for, who KenPom, all that kind of stuff was made for.
No, but Sean definitely has a point here because again, those power conference schools, they don't play quad 3 and 4 games very often. They're in the quad 1, quad 2 room every single night. So there really isn't many opportunities for them to underperform against what the net deems to be inferior competition. So yes, it's already kind of skewed against teams like Memphis in that sense for sure there.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's not waste any more time. Let's not waste any more time talking about this. I'm sorry I brought it up.
It's okay.
I just go, I love the comment sections. I love the Discord. I love all that. It's just there's this roller coaster of emotion. Like if a team scores 2 buckets in a row, if an opponent scores 2 buckets in a row, it's like, yeah. And I'm like, guys, they're scholarship players too. Like they make buckets. Like shots are gonna fall for them at times, right? Like one of them was their little tiny 5'2" little guard that PJ Hagerty abused the entire game, going down the lane, jumping into Dane, falling back, and just and it went in. Like come on, like
it's just so wild to me because like when they beat East Carolina on January 11th. They were 28 in KenPom heading into that game. They're now 43, and they've done nothing but win essentially in that stretch.
Yeah, whatever.
And yet they're down 15 spots from where they were on January 11th. That is wild. That is absolutely wild. I understand that Memphis can look better in these games. I get it, but what the computer I think is not equating for, if you will, is the mental aspect that goes into playing these games. When you are the Super Bowl, the biggest game of the year for every single team that you're playing in your conference, while if you win, it means nothing. You get no reward for winning whatsoever. But for the other team, it's everything, and that's every game for you. That's gonna wear on you It's just going to, and there's just no way for a computer system to quantify that. So
that's a good point. That's a great point.
That's kind of what you get there.
I mean, listen, you're the Super Bowl for every single game, every single team. When they had the student section there and they show the student section and they've got paper lists of the roster of the team they're rooting for in front of them, like in their hands going, okay, who's number 4? We haven't seen him all year. Jamil Reynolds. It's like,
yeah, the majority of that student section probably didn't know one player for USF.
Yep.
Exactly. The Tulane bust people in from like outside of New Orleans to come and be the student section for their for their game against us. Like, yeah. I mean, it's just silly stuff, man. It's wild. But this team is just they're playing so well, and I just want to talk basketball. Like, that's where I'm at. Like, I want to talk basketball.
Yep.
Antonio Sloan mentioned something, and I've starred this comment because I want to come back to it later. Because I do think this is an interesting conversation that I think we could have. But who is y'all's player of the game tonight? Who's y'all's player of the game? Who'd you give it to?
Ooh, this one's kind of tough. I never fully decided. I think the safe choice here is Dane, because he was just the most consistent pillar throughout the night. Yeah, because he kept the Tigers stable, I think, throughout their rough stretch to start, and he didn't really stop once they got going either. I mean, Tyrese really blowing up in the second half and late in the first half too. That played a huge role. Hagerty made some good shots as well. Colby Rogers had a good night too. But I think Dane, has to take it here just for the consistency that he showed throughout.
I mean, Dane's just the easy answer. It was just such a well-played game throughout the entire roster. 4 dudes had at least double-digit points. Dane, PJ, Tyrese, and Colby. They had Musa with 9 and Musa with his lob catches. Come on. I mean,
those were some sweet passes from Hagerty, though.
Great passes and great catches and great finishes. Like, damn, Musa, okay. It's getting to a point where PJ just throws the ball up and Musa catches it and slams it down. I mean, hey, if that's what we see on a regular basis, sign me up, because it's definitely cool to see. But I thought the team just played really well. I have to give player of the game. I have to give it to Dane. 20 points. 7 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal. 9 for 13 from the floor. He was definitely the most efficient Tiger on the floor tonight, besides Musa. I have to give it to Dane. But I do want to bring this up because this is the stat line that I'm basically looking for from this player. And y'all can probably guess who I'm talking about just by me saying what I'm saying.
Share the stat line with us. Share the stat line. Yeah.
All right, I'll do the stat line. 2 points,
okay.
2 steals, 3 assists, and 9 rebounds.
And 1 freaking awesome block. And 1
block.
Friggin' awesome block.
Yep.
Great job, Nicholas. Great job,
Jourdain.
Nick Jourdain doing the dirty stuff, right?
That's what I'm talking about right there. From Nick.
If only he did it every game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of playing on the perimeter against East Carolina.
Yeah.
But give him credit though today, right? He clearly turned down open threes. Like USF was just giving him every single open 3 in the world, and Nick was like, "No, I'm okay. I'm going to move the ball, find a better shot." So at least he tried to be more of a connector, and he just, other than that, he did a little bit of everything. Like 9 rebounds from Nick is what I want to see. I'm not going to get that, but that's what I'm talking about from Nick.
Yeah, I think he took a 1 shot in the first half, and that was that end of the half 3-pointer from the half court where he almost made it. But he absolutely, Penny talked about this. I think in his not his post game show, but his weekly show that he does with Channel 5. Matt Enfield and Dave Willoshin do a show with him at the facility. And
the Penny Hardaway TV show.
Thank you, Penny Hardaway show. I don't know why I couldn't think of that name. But he talked about the big thing that he's trying to get his guys to adopt is that 0.5 mentality of getting the ball and making hard decisions, like quick decisions, like good decisions quickly, right? Mm-hmm. Getting the ball out quickly, not ball stopping. And that's what I love about Nick Jourdain. I said this to you, Francis. Was it after what game was it that I came on when I was at the FedEx Forum?
It must have been Tulsa.
Was it the Tulsa game?
Yeah, Tulsa.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Tulsa.
And everybody was asking me to like give my honest opinions of Nick Jourdain. And I said, I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to be biased. Like, I love Nick Jourdain on this team. I think he's a great kid personally off the court. And one of the things that makes him such a good teammate and such a good fit for this team is that he's extremely coachable, because out of everybody on this team tonight that has Penny has specifically called out this 0.5 mentality with his players, Nick adopted that and immediately brought it into his game tonight, right? Like Roman was talking about, turning down shots and passing the ball, turning down good shots to get great shots. Like that's what he does. And I go, congratulations. He's not out there trying to like get double-digit points, but he got almost double-digit rebounds, multiple assists, 2 steals and a block, and didn't foul out like that. And he was just a really good. This happened last year. I'm sorry, I'll stop my monologue. But this happened last year. Nick, at the end of the year, they started to run some of the more half court offense through him. Right, they started to put him at the high post and start running some off like dribble handoff kind of things through him. Mm-hmm. They're doing that again this year, but this year they got Dane Danger, and they're putting Dane. They're going opposites, right? So Nick is here. They're opposites in the paint. Nick's going up, and Dane is sealing off, getting really good position. Nick is getting it, boom, straight down there. And it's very clearly something they've practiced. And Nick is a willing passer, and Dane is a fantastic post player. And so the offense, even running through Nick like that, looks good. Like he's making good decisions. I was impressed with his game tonight. Yeah,
I agree. And first of all, Kenny, don't ever apologize for talking. No, don't do that. I love hearing you. I love hearing you talk, brother. No, don't apologize for it. You don't do that. We love what you got to say. We love what you got to say. But I agree with you about Nick, man. I've said it so many times on this show. I just want him to do all the dirty work. All the things that other players don't want to do because they have to save themselves for other things. Like PJ, he is a dynamite scorer. Tyrese Hunter, also, he can get hot at any moment from deep. Colby, an absolute sniper from 3. PJ Carter, same thing. Dane's an absolute beast in the paint. Moose is an incredible lob threat. So if everyone has all of these roles that they're already locked into, then what's Nick Jourdain's role? His role is to do literally everything else, like to do anything else that they need him to do. And I think, and we're going to talk about postseason later on, and I might be spoiling my answer, but I think Nick is very important to this team. Obviously, the star guys are the star guys, but I think Nick's value is very high to the ceiling of this team. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
I will say that speaking on the postseason for a second there, you are going to need more than 2 points from your starting power forward in the postseason. Yeah, you are going to need more than 2 points.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And if he can at least find, I think he's a good cutter to the rim. So I think if you can find him in good spots when he's cutting to the rim, I think you get contribution from him there. But yeah, I hear you. But yeah, we'll talk looking forward. We'll talk future. We just did player of the game. We just talked about this game pretty much at good length. Good win for the Memphis Tigers. They didn't move up in KenPom, but I don't care. I just don't really care very much.
The tournament selection committee might. That's the only concern there for the Tigers. Like, this is what I think is going to ultimately prevent Memphis from getting a 4 or 5 seed, honestly, because they may be getting projected that right now, but I think you're already starting to see the more these power conference schools stack up these quad 1 and quad 2 wins, Memphis is just going to naturally fall further down the totem pole because, for one, they're not getting those opportunities in the conference, right, and they keep on moving down to the computers. When you couple that usually does not produce a top 5 seed in the tournament. It's unfortunate for Memphis and somewhat unfair, but that's just the truth of the matter. So That's why
it just kind of is what it is at this point, right?
I mean that's the only why I bring it up, because the computers, I think, will matter to an extent. It's not going to drop Memphis down to a 9 or a 10 or anything like that. Memphis would actually have to lose games for it to get to that point. But I do think, largely because of this, Memphis is likely going to end up as a 6 or a 7 come March. In my opinion.
And I was not trying to rag on you at all, Roman, for bringing it up. I'm sorry if that's
no.
It's not my intent.
I didn't get that impression.
Screw Roman.
I didn't get that impression.
Okay, good. No, but
don't worry about him.
If Memphis keeps winning games, they're going to be they're 14th right now. So as long as they keep winning games, they're probably going to be at worst 10th in the AP poll is my guess. Like, if they just keep winning because teams above them will lose, they might be a top 10 team in the AP poll. And how funny would that be if a top 10 team in the AP poll gets a 6 seed in the NCAA tournament? Yeah. It would just be crazy.
I think it could happen. I think it could happen. It'd be wild, but I think it could happen.
Ooh, goodness,
because it's just hard to envision a team that sits outside of the top 40 in every computer getting a top 5 seed. It's just, I don't think it's ever happened.
Man, yeah, that would be absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. But yeah, we'll talk. We got a lot to talk about postseason. We'll look ahead. We'll talk more about the seeding in the NCAA tournament. Talk more about the ceiling of this team, period. X factors and everything. We'll talk about that on the other side of this commercial break. We'll see y'all then.
The first player to come out and basically say, hey,
the team's the one that's
telling me I can't play.
If I am that caliber of player, you can't tell me when and when not to play. Like, the thing that I do is I play basketball. I enjoy going out and playing basketball. This whole mindset that you think guys not playing is going to make them play more is absolutely asinine. Mm-hmm. I have never seen not playing, not being involved means you're going to play longer. This has not been proven yet. We have now gone through this for years and years on this doing less, are you going to get more? Doing less means you'll get less. Because at the end of the day, a guy may get hurt just playing. So if I'm already restricting you on doing stuff and then you really get hurt, well, shit, you have now done nothing for us.
Right.
Everybody's like, we're tired of guys not playing, but what you don't realize is guys are not making these decisions on if they're playing or not initially. But what I will say is to those that are playing is take control and onus of your own career.
Tune in to the Night Court Podcast with your hosts, Rob Fisher and Brevin Knight, on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
When you see a team in front of you that you know is better than you, but you do still feel like you're one of the better teams in the league, are you okay with just being good as hell? But just not good enough? Because it seems like this season is just not the season that you're, a true championship contender, where you feel like, man, you give us anybody in a 7-game series, we'll win. And I've never felt that way as Memphis Grizzlies because we've never been that team. It's just a strange feeling, bro, when yeah, we're good, man, but we ain't good enough to win this whole thing. We're not good enough to come out of the West.
I think this Grizzlies team is crazy talented.
Yeah,
crazy talented.
We're stupid good, bro.
From top to bottom. Right? Like, it's the best roster the Memphis Grizzlies have ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a way for us to acknowledge that Oklahoma City is better than the Grizzlies. And also a way to acknowledge that if the Grizzlies do what they do well, they can beat Oklahoma City. I do believe that.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Tigers Live. Yeah, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about postseason moving forward, because I think we're at a time where we can start talking about it. So, Kenny, go ahead, please.
I have a question, just to get this out of the way before we get started. Roman, I need your help here. You're the grammar. You're the grammar guy.
Sure.
Is it postseason 1 word or is it postseason 2 words?
I don't. Yeah, I think in the context of what we're talking about here, it'd be 1 word.
Damn it! Hold on. I'll be back.
All right, another commercial break. We'll be right now. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so let's talk postseason. Because again, look, if I jinx this season, then it's all my fault, and I can be fired from Love City Media. I won't ever host Tigers Live again.
Never.
But I don't think Memphis will lose a game for the rest of the season. I just don't think they will. Like the best chance of that is at UAB.
Regular season?
But regular season. I don't think they will.
Hmm.
Regular season. Sorry. I just don't think they will. So I think they win out, and then they go into the AAC tournament as the 1 seed, heavy favorite to win the conference tournament as well.
Yeah.
And be a lock for the NCAA tournament. All those people who have Memphis as a 9 seed or an 8 seed, get that out of here. That's not going to happen. I think you can lock Memphis in for, like what you said, Roman, somewhere between 4 and 6 is my opinion. And so, do y'all disagree with me? How do y'all feel about that?
Again, I think at UAB is going to be tough for Memphis. Yeah. Not just because UAB is going to be coming in, I think, really ticked off after what happened.
What happened, Roman?
In that first game, you're dealing with a really wild environment over there at the Bartow Arena in Birmingham. But I think you also have to take in, and this may sound silly, but I think that the individual warfare between Dane Danger and Yaxel Lindenborg could play a massive part in that game. And again, I think it could ultimately play to one of the team's detriment, honestly. I think it could end up really hurting one team or the other in that game. And there's a 50% chance it's Memphis. I'm not exactly sure between Dane and Yaxel who may get a bit too into that. But I do think it's possible that could play a factor there.
Well, I guess my question would be, who would be the person that would be emotional about this? Would it be the guy who didn't even know who Yaxel Lindenborg was before the season started?
I mean, he says he does, but he also put his nuts in his face.
Or would it
2 hours before?
Well,
listen,
if that was me, like, he would have put his nuts in my face. Like that just happened.
That looked very deliberate. That looked very deliberate.
Or
that was deliberate. You know it was.
Or
he'll play the 5th.
Or was it the guy who somehow found a tweet where Dane was talking about him in a post-game press conference and basically tried to sun him, and then ultimately ended up getting just exposed, literally. Like I have a feeling, and I'll be frank with you, I trust Dane Danger more than I trust Yaxel Lindenborg to not allow the emotions to get the best of him. Like, and on top of that, I would say the way that you impact emotional outbursts in a game, in a basketball game, is you out scheme it, right? You out scheme it. And Memphis runs better stuff than UAB does for their guy. Yeah, Yaxel gets the ball and has to create and has to do random shit to make it happen. Like, he has to take guys off the dribble and all this kind of stuff. Dane gets the ball in the post and just wiggity whack and boom, he's up, right? Like, I mean, that's just what he does. And so I have a feeling, yes, I agree with you, Roman, that matchup is going to be a matchup for the ages in Tiger basketball. I cannot wait for that matchup.
No, I am so excited for that game. That game is going to be a movie, regardless.
The individual matchup between Dane Danger and Yaxel Lindenborg is going to be a movie. I think Dane will get the best of him again. I just do.
Okay, so me saying all that was to set the Tigers up for being a pretty solid seed in the NCAA tournament, avoiding that 8-9 range that Penny's been very vocal about that he wants to avoid. So as Memphis enters the NCAA tournament as somewhere between a 4 and a 6, who do y'all think are the biggest X factors for Memphis to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament?
I mean, I think the big three, really comes down to the big three there with Hagerty, Hunter, and Danger. I think PJ Carter is an important piece because he's proven that he can just make shots against, from UConn to East Carolina to Tulsa. Like, he he just makes shots against anybody, and shooting generally translates. So I think he can be an important piece too. I think Rodgers has to find his non-conference form at some point if Memphis really wants to make something out of this postseason run. Because what he's doing is fine right now. But I think Memphis still somewhat misses the kind of offense that Colby was providing in the non-conference schedule.
Absolutely.
Now, they've been able to make up for it in other ways, obviously, with Dane improving and PJ Carter getting a bigger role. But I still think Colby Rodgers is the most dangerous shooter on this team when he's fully on. And I know the stats don't exactly suggest that, but that's just how I feel. And again, if you're talking like, if you think Memphis is capable of going to, say, the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, the Final Four, Colby Rodgers has to be a significant part of that. He just does. So I don't know if there's like one specific X factor, because this is such a team that doesn't really lack it lacks depth. It does. So I think everyone who plays a really integral part of what Memphis does. Like from Hagerty to Jourdain to everybody. So it's hard to name a specific X factor when every player that's in the rotation feels so important.
I think Colby is very is an X factor to the degree that when he's on and making shots, they're almost unguardable on the offensive side of the ball. Like, they're just almost unguardable. Like, because you've got so many weapons and you've got such a willing passer out of the post. Did y'all see that post pass that Dane made to the corner to PJ?
Yeah, to Hagerty. Yeah, that was incredible.
I mean, that's just dumb. Like, your bigs in college are not supposed to be able to do stuff like that. I asked the question in the Discord, when is the last time we saw a big with the footwork and skills in the paint that Dane Danger has? And somebody said Kenny Lofton Jr., and I agree with that. Kenny was a man-child in college basketball. Just his size and ability, but his footwork and his touch around the rim was just otherworldly. And Dane is right there in that same place. Like, he is so gifted in the post. Dane is such an enigma to me. Not even enigma is the wrong word. Dane is such a unique person to me because he's just so there's a level of comfort. He at this point has surpassed everybody else on the team in terms of the comfortability I feel when he has the ball in his hands, right? Like, when Penny is running sets specifically for Dane in the post, I feel very comfortable with what the Tigers produced during that time period, more so than I do really anybody else at this point. Even though PJ Hagerty's number 4 in the country in scoring and is a phenomenal shooting 40% plus from the 3-point line, and playing at such a high level. He's a mid-season Wooden Award finalist. Like, he's just this incredible player. I just feel so comfortable with Dane in the post. In terms of X factor, I remember back in 2008, in that 2007, 2008 season, when Derrick Rose was a freshman, and the Tigers were so good, right? Like, they were so fantastic all year. And Derrick was one, he would have these moments where you're just like, holy shit. Like, who is this guy? Right? Like, who is this guy? But it was CDR, it was Joey Dorsey, and it was Antonio Anderson. that really kept, during the regular season, that ship moving along, right? Like, CDR was an All-American. CDR,
first team.
We forget about Chris Douglas Roberts. Like,
that's what happens when you branch off and become Supreme Bay.
Yes.
I don't know.
But we forget how great he was as a basketball player, because Derrick Rose was on that team, and Derrick Rose went on and did what he did, NBA MVP, all that. I just remember conversations being had And there wasn't Twitter and there wasn't all that kind of stuff back then. So I don't know where I don't know where I saw the conversations, but maybe it was radio.
It was actually the early days of Twitter.
Was it? Well, I wasn't on it. I didn't get on until 2009 or 2010. But I remember hearing conversation. Well, will Derek come back? Like, will he come back? Because that was a
conversation back then.
He's had a good year, but he hasn't had a great year. Like, will he come back? And it wasn't until the postseason, where in the postseason, in the conference tournament and in the NCAA tournament, he went ballistic.
Yeah,
and
it became different.
And it was his team. It was his team moving forward. And by the time the NCAA tournament was done, Derrick Rose was firmly planted as the number 1 draft pick in the draft, and he went pro. That kind of how the story played itself out. I told that story to say the X factor for me is PJ Hagerty, because PJ Hagerty is the guy that is the one guy on this team that I think has the skill set and is so good that he could literally take the Tigers on his back by himself and move them through the tournament. If he takes his play right here and goes whoom up one notch, he becomes that Derrick Rose story arc where he is just put the team on his back and he is single-handedly willing them to victory throughout the tournament. He is that type of player. Will he do that? I don't know. But if he can do that, the Tigers have a chance to make a real deep run here.
Yeah, I think you talking about PJ he is just an incredible scorer of the basketball. There are just so many moments so many finishes where I think to myself, how in the hell did he make that shot? I just don't understand. How did he find that angle? How did he contort his body to put the ball up on the glass and finish? He is just an incredible college basketball scorer. And the other thing about PJ, he was amazing for Tulsa last year, but he hasn't done it on such a grand stage. And when Memphis makes the NCAA tournament, there's no bigger stage in college basketball than NCAA tournament.
None.
And so, though I think it's 100% fair for you to say, Kenny, that you don't know if he can replicate or even elevate his game to that next level, because we don't know what he's going to be like on that stage. But at the same time, there's just something about PJ that I feel like he rises to the occasion, that he's going to play his best when the lights are brightest. And I think he's a great shout to be the engine, the driver of the Memphis Tigers when it comes NCAA tournament time. I think for me, for the definition of X factor, for me, I define that as the person that isn't a star. I don't think you can be a star or the best player on your team and be the X factor. Because of course, if you're the best player on the team, if you're Dane or PJ,
that's what I was thinking.
You're going to be incredible. Like, that's why, like, I can't give it to the best dude on the team.
Whatever.
But I hear you. I know.
I did.
I hear you, Kenny.
Screw both of y'all. Both of y'all.
Yeah, screw us. Yeah.
I make my own rules here. No,
yeah, no, for sure. But I think PJ's a hell of a shout, and if Tigers will go as far as PJ takes him, no question. But I said it earlier before we went to break. My X factor is 1,000% Nick Jourdain, just because the inconsistencies that we see from him are so frustrating, because when we see him do all the dirty work, dive for loose balls, get on the glass, make good cuts to the rim, when he just plays really hard and he doesn't get in his head, he is that connecting player that Memphis needs if they're going to have success in the NCAA tournament. Every single successful basketball team needs a guy who's willing to do the dirty work. Every NBA championship team has had that guy. Damn near, I'm sure damn near every NCAA championship team has had that guy. And Nick Jourdain has to be that guy for this team in order for Memphis to make a deep run in March. Because if he disappears and you get 0 points, 2 rebounds, no blocks, no steals, no assists, and you just get nothing from Nick Jourdain, Memphis will probably lose their first matchup because you got absolutely nothing from him. And that's when Memphis looks its worst, when they get absolutely zero production from Nick. If Memphis gets consistent production from Nick, I'm talking like 5 points, 5 or 6 points, at least 5 rebounds, maybe 2 or 3 assists, maybe a block and a steal a game, just some level of consistent production from Nick, then I think Memphis can go as far as the Stars want to take him after that. So for me, the X factor for this team, it's 1000% Nick, because someone has to do the dirty work to win these types of games in the postseason, and it's got to be Nick. So that's where I'm coming from.
Timo says Jourdain and Cisse's rebounding is an X factor. Getting 10, 15 points combined for them is an X factor. I think that's true. I mean, I do think that there is a level of the certain statistical things that they can do that really impact the Tigers. Like one of the things that we've talked about a lot, that Penny has talked about a lot, in any of his availabilities, is the 2 stats that he really looks at in terms of success for the team is rebounding and points off turnover. Like what's the difference between points off turnover compared to the other team and the rebounding? They have struggled against teams that can out rebound them. They've struggled against teams that are more physical than them. You need Nick Jourdain to be willing to put his nose down there and get a bunch of rebounds like he did tonight. You need Cisse to be down there getting a bunch of rebounds like he did tonight. And if they can add 10 to 15 points combined between the two of them, that is
huge.
That's huge. Right?
Yeah, that's huge. That's why I also love what you said, Roman, because every player playing to their max ability is what Memphis needs to have a deep run, because it's just not that deep of a team. So all of those 8 rotational guys, they just all have to play well. Because if they want to make a deep run, like they could win their first round matchup with, the big 3 just going off. They can win that first round matchup. But then after that is what matters.
Yeah, again, that's why it's so difficult for me to say a certain person who is an X factor, because every player in the rotation feels so intricately important. If I had to give an answer, it's Colby for me.
Yeah,
cool.
It's Rogers, because I just feel like you need his non-conference offense to come back if you want to have a chance. Like I think back to Clemson, I think back to UConn, like those games. I think back to Ole Miss. Those games where Rogers was just so electric that it put Memphis over the top, and they couldn't have won any of those games without him.
Which Maui game was it that he just went off in?
It was UConn.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, when Colby is on and he's hitting shots, they are almost impossible to guard, because you just cannot guard that pass, especially when you have a willing passer from the post. You just cannot guard someone who can make a pass from the lane to the corner 3 and that corner 3 be almost automatic. When that is automatic, it's just, God, it's tough to stop. The reason I'll just go back to PJ Hagerty for a second. The reason I think PJ is such a key factor, X factor for this team for a postseason run, is that it's just like in basketball is such a sport that majority of the time, especially in the postseason, when you have the best player on the floor, you're going to win that game. You see that in NBA, you see that in college, and I think that PJ has that next level for him is one where he proves that he's the best player on the court, no matter who he's playing with, no matter who's on the other side. And it is a very college refs are college refs, and it's a very real thing. There is a level of consideration that refs give the best player on the court when they're out there. They get more calls, they get, a better whistle all the way through and through. And
the refs are also going to reward the more physical player. 100%. And Hagerty gets that more often than not.
Yeah.
I think that's such a huge role, I think, in him getting the calls that he does, because he is consistently putting a shoulder down, always drawing to contact, always asking for more physicality from his defender. Like, he is the one that is actively engaging in that time and time again, and the officials are just going to respect that one way or another.
Who was the commentator on the halftime show? What was his name? Do y'all see who that was?
Oh, I forgot his name.
Blonde headed dude. What's his name? Anyway, he gets on there and he says, he said right now Joe Lunardi. They had Joe Lunardi on right after, and they said Joe Lunardi has them as a 5 seed. If they go into that as a 5 seed, a lot of times when there's that 12-5 matchup in the first round that everybody wants to pick the 12. He said that is not one of those 12-5 matchups where you pick the 12. You absolutely pick Memphis to win that game. And he said, I believe Memphis will be a Sweet 16 team this year. What do you think?
It depends on what seed they draw.
Yeah.
It depends on the seed. Yeah. If they get 8-9, it's just gonna be tough for them to do it. I don't think they'll get 8-9. But it's possible if they slip up once or twice. It's very possible if they slip up once or twice.
Yeah.
But if they don't, and they're more in the 4 to 7 range, they got a chance for sure. It just comes down to matchups at that point.
I think we've had this conversation, but Timo's asking, what seed would y'all want them to have, 4, 5, or 6?
Again, for me, if I'm Memphis, I don't care. As long as you avoid the 8-9, they have a chance to go to the tournament or the Sweet 16. They have a chance.
Yeah.
So if between 4, 5, 6, or 7, if I am Memphis, I take any of those gladly.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I mean, same for me. I mean, if you get the 6 seed, you avoid the 2 seed. But I mean, at the same time, I really don't mind too much either. I just think Memphis will get up for the NCAA tournament. All the people, like I saw some comment earlier about us drinking the Kool-Aid about beating USF and everything. Y'all, this team, again, if I'm jinxing it, I'm jinxing it. I would be really surprised if they lose in the first round. If they get a 5-4, any seed between 4 and 7, I would be genuinely surprised because I think they're gonna get up. I think they're gonna be ready to go. I would just be shocked. Like Penny, this is what Penny's been building towards. This is what this team has been building towards, getting to the NCAA tournament with a pretty high seed and not having to be in an 8-9 game and then having to face the 1 seed after. They would have then achieved everything that Penny wanted to achieve in the regular season. And now it's now the NCAA tournament. So I don't really care if what seed they get. I think they're going to be up. I think they're going to be ready. So yeah, that's how I feel. I do want to say this really quickly because we've been on here for a minute, doing this for a minute, and it's late out there in Memphis. I know it's late out there for y'all, but I want to say this quickly because I loved what Anthony Sane said on his show recently about the Grizzlies and how right now Jaren Jackson Jr. is the best player on the Grizzlies, but he wants Ja to be the best player on the Grizzlies, and he wants to live in that world where Ja's the best player. I think you can say for this Memphis Tigers team, you could definitely make the argument that Dane Danger is right now their best player because Dane has been absolutely dynamite since he entered the starting lineup. He's been so damn good. He's stuffed the stat sheet. He's been uber efficient.
I disagree. I don't think there's been a point in the year where Hagerty hasn't been the best player. That's just
okay.
Me.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. But I do think you can. I think you can make the argument just looking at stat sheets that Dane's been incredible. But I'm just saying this to as back up more Kenny's point that come NCAA tournament time, I want to live in a world where PJ Hagerty is undoubtedly the best player on this team, where there is no argument at all that whether it's Dane or whether it's PJ. I want it to be 1,000,000% PJ. I want him to average 25 plus points a game. I want him to average 6 assists per game, 5 rebounds, and shoot well from the 3. I want him to reach that next level because if he does so, yeah, it'll be very, very, very difficult to beat Memphis in March. So that's where I'm at in that conversation.
No, I love it. I love it. If y'all had to think of and we'll kind of close this out here, but if y'all had to think, are turnovers going to be the thing that stops this team from making a deep run?
No, not for me. I think if anything stops Memphis from making a deep run, it's just running into a bad matchup. Because what have we seen? Every time they've run into into personnel that is unfavorable, from Auburn to Mississippi State to even Arkansas State. Whenever they run into big, lengthy teams that rebound the hell out of the offensive glass and are able to torch you from three-point range, you see a clear weakness there. There are a myriad of those teams in the NCAA tournament. A myriad of those teams. You can find those teams everywhere. That's the big concern for me.
Can you, though? What are the teams that you're – let me ask you this. Let's go through this real quick. I'm going to look at
that's most teams in the SEC.
I want to do a bracket watch real quick with you. Who are the top 4 teams so far right now? It's Auburn, Alabama, Florida, and who's the 4th? Because Florida is it Duke? Yeah, Duke.
Yeah,
Duke. Can the Tigers beat Auburn?
No, I don't think so.
Jeez. I mean, I don't think so. I don't think so either. Just because they have a 6'7" dude who they put on PJ Hagerty and really made him work in that championship game.
Chad Baker Mazzaro is so good.
That's a tough matchup for PJ. Tough matchup. Really hard. So shoot. I mean, I wouldn't pick Memphis. So I would say no, I wouldn't pick Memphis.
What about Alabama? Can they beat Alabama?
Alabama's three-point offense is so electric, and Memphis is not good at defending the three-point line. That's the one concern right there for me on that.
I think Memphis could do
they can beat Alabama, I think.
Yeah, I think they can beat Alabama. I don't think they can beat Auburn, but I think Memphis, if they played 10 times, Memphis maybe beats them twice. I think they can do it because they can get in a track meet with Alabama, and if Colby's hot, if Memphis is hot, and and keep it close at the end, and they hit the clutch shots, I think they can beat Alabama.
Right.
But I wouldn't pick them either. But I mean, that's how I feel.
What about this team scares me so much. What about Florida?
Florida's loaded from top to bottom.
Florida's so good.
They're so good.
Florida's so great.
They're so talented.
Yeah. Elijah Martin is such a different player. I don't know what FAU is doing to hold Elijah Martin back, but Todd Golden has unlocked him at Florida. Yeah. And he is just a monster now.
Yeah.
And he was the third guy on FAU, and now he's just a monster at Florida.
Shows you how good that FAU team was for real, and Memphis should have beaten him, but that's a different story. Different story.
Yeah. What about Duke?
I think Memphis can beat Duke.
Flag is such a tough matchup for Memphis. They don't have an answer for Flag.
You don't think Nick could at least push him towards bad matchups? I think Nick could be a bad matchup. Nick could guard him. Not stop him. Nobody's going to stop Cooper Flag. But in terms of a matchup, I don't think Nick's a bad matchup.
Nick Jourdain on Cooper Flag, that's like Cooper Flag would eat Nick Jourdain for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, man.
You're saying Nick would foul out in the first 3 minutes of the game. Is that what you're saying?
Memphis does not have an answer for Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag, 7'2", Cooper Flag.
Hey, he's not 7'2".
7'1", 7'2", something like that.
Cooper Flag's 6'9".
Yeah, he's not that tall.
They got a 7'2" kid. They got a 7'2" kid on their team, but he's not it. He's
not that good.
Or he's not that big. He's great.
I mean,
the 7'2" kid.
Yeah, 6'9". Okay.
Kenny, look, all these teams that you could run off, they're really damn good, man. All these teams. Duke is incredible. Tennessee's really good. I mean, all these teams are fantastic. Yeah, but I do think that I think the matchup thing that Roman's bringing up is also still totally fair because we've seen what the kryptonite is for this Tigers team. And if Memphis faces that kryptonite, then that's going to be a problem. So a lot of it depends on the draw. A lot of it depends on the seed, who's going to be the 1 or the 2 seed in that region. But I think push comes to shove. We've seen it. Memphis can hang at the very least because I think they can hang with Auburn. I don't think they can beat them, but they can hang with them. And then after that, we just mentioned teams that Memphis could hang with as well. So
yeah,
but they have to play as Roman said before. They have to all play to their max ability, which is why that X factor discussion is hard because they all have to play well. For Memphis to be at their ceiling, then that's the only way they beat these teams. That's it.
Well, my goal is to push any of those matchups with those 4 teams as far down the line as possible, right? Like that's what I want to see happen. So, can we get the 2 seed? Is that possible? Can we? No, I know we can't. Keep us in that. Like if we get that 6 seed, then we're in that pathway of the 2, right? And I think we'll be all right. I wouldn't mind the 6 seed. The 6 seed would be fine.
Yeah, because Memphis could beat a 2 seed. They can.
They could beat a 2 seed. Yes.
Yeah, they can beat a 2 seed.
They could beat a 2 seed, no question, in my mind. Yeah.
So
It's
last
just-
question that was brought up. Antonio Sloan brought this up earlier. He said, "Why is everybody saying the Tigers need to lead this conference? If you win a great number of non-conference games and dominate the conference and get a high seed like a 4 or 5, it tells us that we're good." Y'all agree with that?
No, you're rolling the dice with that every single year, though. Like if you slip up in this conference just a few times, like your season is all of a sudden in jeopardy when it's completely unnecessary. Like if you were in a better conference and you slip a little bit, you probably don't even really drop a seed line, maybe 1 or 2. But if you do, if you lose like 3 or 4 games in this version of the AAC, Memphis's outlook would look completely different from what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I agree. I
agree
want to
as
see
well.
I want to see better games from January on. I want to see better games. I want to see the excitement around. I mean, let's think about the 21 season when I think they had lost like 4 straight games, and then Alabama comes to town, and the FedEx Forum was the craziest I've ever seen it ever.
Unreal.
It was like
Unreal.
Grizzlies 2012 playoffs against the Clippers type of loud in there, and I want to see a lot of those. Like I'd love to see those kinds of games in the FedEx Forum.
Memphis versus Houston 2 years ago. Memphis lost when Houston came to town, but that game was crazy, and that crowd was unreal. Like that, I miss those environments. It's what makes college basketball amazing, and those environments should be in Memphis more often because Memphis is a fantastic basketball city. So that should just happen in Memphis more. So, like I basically like, would you rather be Gonzaga or would you rather be Iowa State? I'd much rather be Iowa State. I'm tired of being Gonzaga. I don't want to be them. I don't want to play in some crap ass conference and then every time we'll kick everyone's butt in the conference, be a 4 seed or a 3 seed or whatever, and then we enter the tournament and it's the same discussion. Well, they haven't played anybody, so how good are they? How good are they? No one asked that question. Kentucky's going to make the NCAA tournament. No one's going to be like, how good's Kentucky, dude? Like it's just not. I don't want that to be the future of the Memphis Tigers in basketball.
Kentucky lost 3 straight games. They finally who they just beat? They just beat Tennessee. Was it Tennessee? They just beat Tennessee, I think.
There's a 2 seed that I think Memphis would beat.
And they're a 2 seed. They are slotted back into the 2 seed.
I think they would beat Tennessee.
And I think they would
beat Tennessee. I think they would beat Tennessee.
What about Kentucky? Could they beat Kentucky?
Yeah, I think they can too.
I think they can beat Kentucky.
Yeah, they can beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
What about Michigan State? Oh wait, they beat Michigan State.
Oh wait, they already beat Michigan State.
Oh wait, they already beat them. Like
Kentucky doesn't defend. Like Kentucky just doesn't defend teams.
No,
that plays right into Memphis' hands. And Tennessee just doesn't have the scoring, or at least enough scoring, to really hang with a team as explosive as Memphis, in my opinion. Like Chaz Lanier would have to have the game of his life to outduel Tyrese Hunter and PJ Hagerty.
I think Tennessee is fraudulent. I really do. Like I think they're good.
All they do is rebound, and
I think they're good, but are they as
good? They're good, but there's a reason they keep losing in the tournament because they never have enough offense. Right. Ever.
Yeah.
Bulletin board material. Tennessee's gonna find this show and clip what we just said and put it.
We'll probably never play them because we'll be in the Sweet 16 and they'll be back at home after losing in the first round to Wright State
to Wofford or something.
And
they lose to Wofford.
They're gonna lose to Wofford in the first round because Chaz Lanier goes 1 for 30 on 3-point. That's the one game. That's the game that he decides to go 1 for 30.
Yeah, no. Timo, yeah, rebounding is a good thing for sure. Yes, definitely. But if that's all you're good at, if rebounding and defense is all you're good at, you're like the offense is eventually going to come back to bite you in the tournament. There's a reason why Tennessee outside of last year when they had Dalton Connect, couldn't go anywhere further than like the second weekend or the second round.
Yeah. Hey, y'all
Like-
are spitting. Y'all are
Like
spitting.
it took Dalton Connect to get them to the Elite Eight. And as many good seasons as Tennessee has had under Rick Barnes for the past decade, it should not have taken them that long to get there. But it did, because until last year, they never had enough offense to win. And now, Chaz Lanier is good, but he's not Dalton Connect. Like, he can't carry them in that same way.
No, he ain't big enough.
I love y'all, man. I love y'all. This is great. It is 11:23 in Memphis. Y'all need to get some sleep. Y'all need to get some rest.
I'm good, man.
That was fun. That's fun. Hey, good win tonight. Tigers again, 80-65 over USF. 15-point win on the road. Did you see the sign? The students Memphis sign. Somebody said nothing like I think it said something like
Quad
nothing,
8 win.
a quad 8 win
Yeah.
on the road to boost your resume.
So good.
Memphis fans are wild, bro.
Great.
They're
Yeah.
so wild.
Great
Shout out
sign.
Jake Stoop for that sign.
Who is that? Is that Jake?
Yeah, his name is Jake Stoop. That's who had that sign.
Classic.
Heck
I
yeah.
went to high school with him.
Shout out Jake.
Jake
Shout
Stoop.
out. Shout out Jake
All right.
Stoop. That's hilarious.
All right, y'all. Well, look, Kenny, Roman, y'all are fantastic. Y'all are the best. To everybody in the comments section, all love for all of you. Appreciate y'all staying up late with us on Tigers Live for Bluff City Media. I'm Francis Carlotta. That's Roman Clear. You can find Roman. Let them know where they can find you, man.
Yeah, it's at ROA Clear on X/Twitter. Same handle for all other social media platforms as well. You can check out my written work on BluffCityMedia.co. Digital content covering Tiger basketball on the BCM Twitter as well. Yeah, stay tuned. I suppose it's going to be a pretty wild ride here down the stretch.
I love this time of the year so
absolutely.
freaking much, man.
The spring is the best. Sorry, like a minor tangent. The spring for sports is amazing. It is just an amazing time of the year because of March Madness, the Masters. I love golf and I love the Masters so much.
Yes.
Then the NBA playoffs is around the corner. Opening day for baseball. This time of year is fantastic. But Kenny, y'all can find Kenny everywhere. He does basically everything. Like you can see him at
Definitely
the
not
forum. You can see him on every single show on Bluff City Media. So y'all give love to Kenny. Everyone DM Kenny how much you love him. He would really appreciate that for
Hey,
sure.
I will say this to y'all. There are 282 people watching this. There's probably going to be well over 1,000 that watch this moving forward over the next couple of days until Sunday when they play again at 11 a.m. So 11 a.m. on
Yeah,
ESPN.
11 a.m. tip on ESPN at Wichita State.
So this concerns me a little bit. I know we need to get gone. Sorry, Francis. This concerns me a little bit. Trey Lasley brought this up on Untapped this week. Tigers are flying back to Memphis tonight. They'll be back at 3 a.m. And then they get up and they leave tomorrow to go to Wichita, Kansas and play at 11 a.m. on Sunday. It's going to be a quick little turnaround. So good thing Wichita State sucks. So it'll be an interesting game to see how quickly they get their legs, right? But I will say this to everybody.
They do get a week off after that, though.
That's good. They need that.
They've been going like 2 games a week.
Yeah, for a while.
Like the Thursday Sunday rotation for like a solid 5-6 weeks in a row.
It'll be nice. They'll still have that Sunday to Sunday, right? That the next game will be
it'll be Sunday to Sunday.
Yeah. So for all the people that are watching the show right now, who are going to watch it in the future, man, we love what we do here at Bluff City Media. And I know there's probably people out there that are going, we love the content that Bluff City Media produces for Grizzlies, Tigers, everything that we do. Man, if you are somebody that has a business or somebody that has friends that have a business that want to that would love to sponsor what we do here for especially for this postseason time when everything's ramping up, man, hit me up, KennyStubblefield@gmail.com. You can hit me up at Kenny_BCM on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook, unfortunately, but you can find me everywhere. I would love to talk to you about it, man. We have I'll give you all the information about the plethora of impressions and views that we have each month. Your business would appreciate the bump that BCM can give it, and we would appreciate partnering with you. So hit me up, kennystubblefield@gmail.com. Would love to have that conversation.
Absolutely. Everyone do that for sure. Everyone go hit up Kenny, because, you know, I every time I do my outro, I tell everybody, subscribe to Bluff City Media, and those subscriber numbers, they're going up, man. They've been going up fast. I see it. I notice it. So, hey, Bluff City Media, we're just getting going. So I appreciate everybody who's tuned into the show. Everybody hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell for the notifications to make sure you know exactly when a new video comes out for all the amazing shows that come out on this channel. Be sure to read all the amazing stuff that Roman puts out for Bluff City Media covering the Memphis Tigers. He's the man. I love everything you do, Roman. For real, you're the man.
He's the best. Everybody, best in the biz,
he's
man.
The best. He's the best. So I know you love flattery. so everybody tune in. I appreciate y'all. All love for you. I will not be on the show Sunday. The negotiation team my coach. We have competitions coming up, and it's grind time for the team. So
let's go, baby.
I gotta be at practice on Sunday, but y'all be in good hands. You'll be joined by Kenny and Roman. So until after Wichita State, until next time, y'all.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Tigers Live. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.